Hello and welcome back to our last class in the game networking architecture. And in this unit, we will talk about lobby systems in multiplayer games in virtual worlds. And this should basically finish up our um, study of multiplayer environments and fundamentals of networking games, game networks, and the technologies that go into it. Whenever you try to set up a multiplayer game, you would have to think about how you can allow players to join it and to play it either in a competitive way or in a cooperative gameplay. And lobby system is basically the component of your game environment that helps you achieve this. We have so far been able to set up chats, create rooms and zones in a multiplayer environment, and regardless of the kind of game that you're making, those concepts are essentially the same. And if you have a real-time component to your game, we studied in the last couple of weeks about how you can establish a mechanism either based on frame rates or based on time to synchronize your gameplay. And so the lobby system is essentially the portal to your game engines and your multiplayer environment. We will here look at features that are common to lobby systems, and I'll show you how you can set one up in the Electro server and create a complete gameplay based off of the portal to your game, the game that we set up a few weeks ago. The common features that go into setting up a lobby system essentially takes into account several functionalities that will help bring groups of players together and allow them to join a multiplayer environment. Of course, the most common feature in a lobby system, although it's not mandatory, is a chat. It's not an integral part of players getting into the game, but it allows players talk about the game, talk about basic functionalities, and essentially socialize. The next component or feature in the lobby system allows the players to kind of take an overview of the kinds of games that exist on a server and then to be able to join one or several of them. Some games also may allow you to see if there are certain games underway, if the game is being full or essentially locked down, or it still accepts players, and that kind of features. You may also end up showing some extra game-specific information, such as the map that the games are using if it's a shooter game, or the names of current players in a game. You may also have a quick join button, which allows you to join a game very easily. And if you click on this button, then the server-side portion of the lobby system will search for an open game and just join you to that open game. It might even create a game for you if no open game exists. You may also have a button that allows players to create their own game and accept a list of players, set the game as a public or a private game session, and so forth. There's another system that may be used extensively as a challenge system, and I've seen this in many different kinds of multiplayer games, and it allows a player the ability to challenge one or more other players and essentially create a game for them to play against each other. You may also have an invite system, which basically sends an invitation to other players who may not even be online at the time. And finally, one of the most common features, or actually one of the features if you're developing a game and if you're in the industry that you would want your lobby system to have, is for you to be able to reuse this lobby system for another game that you are creating. Although the look, feel, and settings of that lobby system may not be the same over a number of different games, but the basic functionality is you want them to be portable and reusable, so that you wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel every time you creating or releasing a new game system. Just a quick note about the challenge feature of a lobby system. This may sound like a very easy mechanic and a very easy system to set up, but it may come with its own little challenges and specific problems that might arise. Let's talk about a simple example. Let's say that you have a system and it has a lobby system, and you have a game and it has a lobby system. And let's say that player A sees that there's another player in the game, in the lobby, player B, and he or she wants to invite them for a challenge. So if they click on a challenge button and challenge player B, several things might happen. Player B will see a window showing the challenge. They're being challenged by player A, so they might accept. And once they accept, they can be taken to a game, and player B and player A will play against each other in a challenge mode. So that's simple, no problem there. However, player B might decide not to respond to this challenge system. So player A will see forever that they have been in the challenging status. They challenged someone and they haven't responded back. So that's one of the problems that may arise. So you might want to add an additional functionality to this in such a way that your player A's challenge would expire after a certain number of time if player B did not respond, so that player A could go about doing the rest of their business. However, if you set that functionality up, then player A's challenge might expire as far as player A is concerned, but at the same time player B might accept the challenge, and player B would be taken to a game state in which no other player exists, so you would have to also take care of that process. You might also want to add a mechanism to player A's challenge for canceling the challenge after a certain amount of time has lapsed. If you do that, then some additional complexities might arise. For example, player C might challenge player A at the same time, and player A might cancel player B's challenge and accept player C's challenge, but player B might at the same time also accept player A's challenge. So all this sort of different kinds of mess would happen. So when you're setting up a challenge system like that, you would have to kind of think through and run a bunch of different scenarios and try to get to debug the system and make sure that there's always a kind of one-to-one mapping between all of these mechanics and the functionalities in your challenge system that go about. One of the best and easiest ways to resolve most of these issues is that to put all of these functionalities of the challenge system into the server, because you can have the server to take the authority of your challenges and make sure that everything is going according to the plan and prioritize when certain kinds of functionalities happen at the same time. So now that we talked about the basic features of a game lobby, let's talk about the user experience that we would expect from a player when they are in the lobby system. The experience that the users may have in the lobby system is basically to be able to click on a game in the list, to play it, to see a loading screen when games are being loaded, to start a game, to play the game, to finish the game, get back to the lobby system, of course to be able to chat in and out. And so for your players to be able to have a full experience with the main lobby screen, certain kinds of starting and ending points might be established and might need to be matched. There are certain fundamental changes that occur throughout the process of a player entering your game world, being in a lobby system, finding and deciding about a game, joining it, playing it, and finishing it. So the kinds of states that your game would have to go through are essentially four major states. the waiting state, initialization, the gameplay, and a game over. So in the waiting state, a player might decide that they want to play a game by either creating a new game or joining an existing game, or by doing a quick join. The server at this point would receive the request, assuming that the game that the player wants to join isn't full and that it have not started yet. So the player can join that game. Once this happens, the player will transfer into the waiting state. The waiting state is where one or more players are waiting for more players to join the game and make the final configuration that is needed for the game to start. This state is often associated with a new screen that would show the number of players in the game, how many empty slots is left, and also potentially a countdown while players are being joined. The next state, when players join and the countdown happens and the game is waiting state is over, is the initialization. In this state, we basically give each client the time to set up for the game that's about to be played. If there are certain kinds of animations or game assets or arts and assets that needs to be loaded up, the players need to be spawned, and any other kinds of client-side things that would have to happen is taken care of in the initialization state. So once your client game play is initialized, a simple message would go to the server notifying the server that the game is ready to start. And basically then the server will have the authority to start and play the game and set up all the synchronization that's needed for all of the clients that are joined into that game. The next state is, of course, the gameplay. When this state is reached, you will know that all players are in place and everything has been loaded, and all of the gameplay environments have been initialized on the server, and now the game can start. This state is reserved for basically custom game logic. Anything can happen here until a game-specific endgame condition is reached, and that endgame essentially determines who won the game and when the game would have to stop. Which brings us to the game over state. In this state, players are still grouped together, but the game will not play anymore, and the game is over. So typically, the results of the game will be displayed in this state, that everyone will see them. You will give the players the functionality to, if they hit a top score, to be able to record their score and their name in the billboard or the scoreboard, and you can allow the players to go back to the lobby system or the waiting room, so to speak, and create a new game, join another game, or basically simply socialize with other players. So these are the four basic functionalities that we need to have our system or our full game experience to maintain. So with this basic background, we'll go to a version 2 of the dig game, and we will see how we can set up this dig game to enhance it and build a lobby system for it that helps player find a game, join a game, and essentially record their scores. There are certain kinds of basic concepts that you would have to establish, and the Electro server provides some of these features that are very useful for our lobby system development. A plugin can be registered with your Electro server as a game, and we can call this a server game. And then this server game will be able to associate a unique ID, a new string ID that would be associated with the game type, and clients can use this game type along with other APIs to load a list of all of the games of a type, join a game, join a specific existing game of a type, and create a new game of a type. On the client side, we would create a server game class, and this will be used to basically create and maintain a list of games that has been requested. We would associate game types, a game ID to each game. We would be able to establish a locked status for a game. If the game is still open for players to join, or if it's locked and no more players can join this, we can associate server objects as the property component of the games, and you would be able to allow these properties of this game to be publicly viewable, and so forth. We would be able to use find game requests and find game response event listeners to allow essentially the client to be able to list games of a type, and to see and to keep the current lists and reload it every several seconds. We can have a create game request event that can be used to create a game of a specific time. Quick join game request, of course, is a request that allows the users to quick join a game. Join game request will be able to pass a game ID for the client to be able to join a game, and create or join game response will allow the users and the players to get into a game if it exists, or to create a new game if no playable game exists. So with this, the assignment for this class is the basic functionality that goes to setting up your big game tool with the lobby system, and we will work on the code, the action script code for this game, and we populate the components that would establish the lobby system and take care of all of the dynamics that goes into creating this lobby system. Alright, so here's a quick look at how our game play is established in the action script. So you load up your program and you finish up your program, then you would notice that the dig game that we have has basically has a couple of modifications to it. First off, if you don't have your Electro server running, of course you would fail to connect to the server. So the first thing that we need to do is to set our Electro server running. And I'm just running the Electro server for the first time here for this lobby system, and basically we can rerun the client side. Join the game. So once the client joins the game, setting a username, they would enter the lobby. So this is our lobby system that allows the users to send public messages or private messages. And of course, as you see here, we have only one client joined. Let's add another client to this system. So now the two clients are joined. So this is the Ray's view, and this is Ellie's view of the game. So as I said, we can have just private messages or public messages sent by the users, and so forth. So our lobby system would have to have the functionality to allow our users to join a game or to create a game. At first, when we don't have any game, by clicking on quick join, our game would be initialized. However, let me just click on the quick join and here, and as you see, nothing happens. The reason that nothing happens here is that we need to register our game types with the Electro server. Each game needs to be registered with your game manager when Electro server starts up. Normally, you can do this with a server level plugin that registers all of your games at once. The init1 game method that I will show you a little later is a part of a GMS initializer plugin that is basically an easy way to register your games that have no default game details and use the same game name as your plugin game. A game can have multiple plugins associated with it, but usually you have one plugin associated with one game. If you have additional games in that extension that will use the game manager, then you can invoke init game into each of those games to initialize them. You may also write custom methods for one or more of your games and invoke them instead. For our example here, we need to go ahead and register our GMS initializer or game manager initializer to as a server level plugin into our list of extensions. To do this, we will have our server Electro server logged in. In my case, it's localhost on port 8082, and then we will log in. If you haven't changed your password and username, the password for your administrator for the Electro server is administrator, and the login is essentially password, and the password is password. I'm sorry, the username is administrator and the password is password. Then you click on the extensions and you expand the game book, and then you add a new server level plugin. The server level plugin that we will associate is GMS initializer. Under plugin name, we can use any plugin name, and you will use here dig game 2 plugin. And then we save. And once we save, we would have to restart our games server. So let me log out of my clients and restart the Electro server. Once you restart your Electro server, you see the warning being shown about the game plugin to game is registered with your manager, and also your tank game is also registered with your game manager. The game manager is the one that we associated. And now we can run our games. And so now the two players are now in game, and of course we can send public messages, we can send private messages, and we can join the game. And when one player joins the game, you see on the other player's window a game shows up as game 0 and it's open, and then we can click on it and join on it, and this way the two players will join. A countdown will show up, and it counts from 10 to 0, and once the countdown reaches 0, the game starts, and each player can start digging. And the difference you see here is that now each player can see the little travel animation for all the other players in the game. And once a player reaches 10,000 points, the game is over, and you see the scores shown up on both windows, and then players can go back into the lobby system. And if a third player joins the game, you see now all the 3 players are in, and so these 2 players joined, and now we can join all the players in. So this is a full overview of a complete game being played by 3 players. So now we're going to writing this game and populating the content that adds the lobby and essentially takes care of the 4 stages of our game.